Welcome, everybody. This is Books Cafe, brought to you by free-ebooks.net. We're excited to have you join us. We're excited to be here, and I've got an amazing guest. So before we get into him, free-ebooks.net, you can get 5 free ebooks a month, or you can join our VIP program and get unlimited ebooks. We have over 40,000 ebooks. We have over 8 to 10,000 audiobooks. Our purpose is to support up and coming authors. If someone is a really experienced best-selling author, all the publishing houses charge after them, pay them huge amounts of money to get their next book. And, Stephen King never has to worry about anything. However, if you're just starting out or you haven't made, millions of book sales, then how do you start to create your audience? And we've got over 5 million members who are searching our site every week, 200,000 visitors every week, looking for your book. So if you're an author, if you want to get exposure, head over to free-ebooks.net. It's free for you to join, free for you to put up your book, and you can start getting downloads, creating that community and nurturing that community. So our guest today is a best-selling author of more than 10 books. The one I like the best is High Profit Secrets. And he uses the books to motivate and educate entrepreneurs to write books themselves to use in their businesses or as their business. As a book launch and marketing strategist, he has made his mission to support entrepreneurs in creating business brands of their true passion. And he does this through his flagship programs like Bestseller University, which teaches how to publish a bestseller, and Authors Inc., which is how to turn your book into a business. And that's really, really important, taking what you've got. And it's not just putting out the book, sticking it on Amazon and crossing your fingers, hoping people will buy it. That's just the beginning. And you can spin your book off into lots of different other ways for it to be consumed, whether it's a course, a video course, a podcast, audio, or doing some of the things that we're going to be talking about. I almost spilt the beans because one of the big things that he's doing is happening like right now, and really, really excited about being a part of that. He's a member of the National Academy of Best-Selling Authors and the National Association of Experts, Writers, and Speakers. He's made appearances on America's Top Authors, which aired on CNN, NBC, and Fox News, and is featured on US Today. He lives in Phoenix with his wife and 2 children. So welcome to the show, Ray Brehm. How are you doing today?
Great, Scott. Thanks for that intro, the tongue-twisting intro that I gave you there. Or I don't know if I gave it to you, but
I found it on Amazon.
That's right. I'm like, okay, I remember that bio, because you change your bio every couple months and you forget where to put it, where to update it.
On Amazon.
Yeah.
Put it on Amazon.
I mean, I put it in the newest book comes out. It's like, I should tweak that a little.
That's right.
And it's like, man, I just need a cascade button to get that across everything else.
Right. That is a great point, is you tweak your bio as things change. And a lot of us, I think, we make our bio and then we forget about it. And I think it's a really important part of getting our message out and who we are. And the other part of it, of course, is if your first bio is not great, that's okay, because you can tweak it and change it. Because when we read, something we read or write a year ago, when we look at it today, there's no way we're not going to change it.
I think there's a saying that if you're not embarrassed about what you did a year ago, then you're not moving forward enough. And I must be moving forward because I'm constantly embarrassed about what I have done in the past. And sometimes even 3 months ago, I'm like, gosh, did I really say that or write that? Or so
that's awesome. And you're absolutely right, because we grow, we practice, we learn, we get better. And so perfectionism has a problem with the sort of things that we do, right? Because it doesn't exist.
It's if you looked and said, well, I might be embarrassed a year from now from this, so I'm going to tweak it so I won't be. That's just impossible. And like you're saying, it's, done is better than perfect. And it's almost like that's one of the most important acquired skills we have as authors and entrepreneurs, because if we wait for perfection, we just never get anything done. And
Yeah.
we've got to accept the fact that we're going to be embarrassed about it a year later, or at least I am. And so it's, and what I think what you mentioned too, is the ability to pivot and understand that, that, like, for instance, the bio you read, there's a couple things in there I'm like, ooh, I'd really like this to be the forefront of what I'm doing now, because I've pivoted a little, I've learned a little, and so I've kind of changed direction. I changed how I help people, and
Right. And we're going to get into that today. Before we do, though, one of the things I want to do is share with everybody is how we met. This is actually the first time we've talked. We've sent a couple emails back and forth. And the reason that I think it's important for authors in particular is it is an example of just getting out there. So we have a mutual friend, Dan Morris, and every year he does this bundle promotion where he gets what he thinks are really good teachers, entrepreneurs, experts, and he puts them all together, about 65 of us, and he says, can you give me some of your best stuff, because I'm going to put this bundle together and sell it for under $50. And we're kind of like, what? And he's like, yeah, but you're going to get thousands of people that watch your stuff and see your stuff that you would never have in your tribe any other way, because they're kind of our tribe, right? So Ray put a product up, and I think it was Book Funnels 101. And I put a product up from one of my Udemy courses with a co-instructor on emotional intelligence. And so when I'm coming to do today's show, oh my goodness, I don't have a guest. But what's top of mind is Dan is emailing me every day, promote the stack. And oh, by the way, you get access. So of course, I was excited because I know the quality of the content in the stack. So as I'm thinking, how am I going to find somebody? How am I going to find something? I'm going through BC Stack, and out pops Book Funnels 101. And I thought, gee, I wonder if that's a topic that our authors would like to hear about. So, of course, I'd already joined up, and that I emailed Ray, and I said, Ray, I've got this show. It's all about authors. Do you think maybe? And then we talked about a few other things, and voila, here you are. So don't hesitate as an author to find ways to give, because really, Ray, you were giving to the BC Stack. I was giving to the BC Stack. And when you give, something amazing always comes back. And in this case, it's a new friendship for me.
Well, what I love about Dan and the Stack and you and I this is a win-win-win, because one, you and I are going to meet new people through our free offerings. We also get to be affiliates if people on our list are interested in the Stack. And of course, some purchasers of the Stack are getting 65 courses for, the price of a cup of coffee a day for a month, or whatever it is. So it's, what is it, 47? I mean, it's something ridiculous. It doesn't, like, the bigger problem is letting people know it's legit. Like, you've got $8,000 worth of stuff for $47, but it's for 1 week only a year. That's the thing. But, for me, it's an evolution. Like, it's a no-brainer. Once you've done it, you understand the value as a contributor as well. And that's the thing I think that's kind of brought me to where I am today, because, everybody talks about building an email list, but it takes a while, I guess, to get through this thick skull. Like that should have been top of the line, when I first wrote my first book. Because I think it took me, I had opt-ins inside my books and freebies and stuff. And, it still took like 3 years, and I was doing it on the side and so forth. But I was, I've got like 300 emails in 3 years. It was kind of like, yeah, this is going to take me a while to get to where I want to go.
Right.
But, that's one of the things. And you think your book's going to do that, and it does it a little bit, and it gets high quality leads, and it builds you authority, and it's a great sales and marketing tool. But, the other thing we think of when we talk about publishing a book is okay, as soon as I get that out there, and if I hit bestseller, I'm retiring. I'm done. I'm on passive income,
Right.
the passive income lifestyle. And for most of us, that's just not true. In fact, I was just talking to somebody last week, and it was, they were saying that, even Seth Godin, he's getting $300,000 advances for a 2-year project. So you break that out, year, that's 150,000 a year. That's not you're thinking millions and,
Yeah, that's not $1 million.
lots.
No.
No. And that's, so even somebody at that level, that's what they're getting. And then, they've got to perform and get people to their book. So we have this idea, right or wrong, and nobody's dispelling the myth that published book, best-selling book equals huge income. That's not necessarily, it's probably not true either. And we've got this idea of the role of our book in our business life and our personal brand as the income producer. It's not the income producer. It's the authority producer. It's the sales and marketing tool. It's a way for people to get to know you in a passive way before they engage to the next thing. But it's the next things that help you get the income. And the other thing is, just because you write a book doesn't mean other influencers will want to talk to you.
Right.
It's great. You can get endorsements and stuff, but they're not going to. It's a lot harder to ask to say, hey, could you send my book out to your list? A link to my book. There's not much incentive there. So those are the things that I found out that we kind of assume the book will do, but it really won't do. And, you still need a book, and it's your baby. So what do? If you spent a year or 6 months creating this baby, and then all of a sudden, because this is what happened to me, I spent 10 months on my first solo book. I'd helped a couple people do their books, and I thought, boom, I hit bestseller. I'm like, well, yeah. And then 2 weeks later, I'm like, I looked at the royalties and I started doing the math. I'm like, this is going to be worth about $20 a month to me, long term after that bump. And, unless you as the author want to become an expert at Amazon ads or BookBub ads or so forth, which I've got friends that are, my friend Mark Recklau does, 20,000 a month, but he loves it. And all he does is every day is tweak his 600 ads per book or whatever he's got going on Amazon. If that's what you love doing, that's okay. But for most people, it takes a while to get there, and you got to love doing it. And most likely you love doing what you wrote your book about. So
right, which is not on Amazon ads.
Right. So it's exactly. And if you wrote a book on Amazon ads, you're in good shape.
Those are two very, very different skill sets, right? Writing ads, tweaking the ads, doing the analytics and everything else. And as a fairly creative person myself, whenever I'm creating teams. So on the team is somebody that loves doing that. And I'm like, thank goodness, because, I'd be jumping off the bridge if I had to do that every day, right? And that's another thing I think that's really important is, as an author, it's kind of this lonely solo job or task, yet we really need to have a team around us to do all the things necessary to really get, and I'm not just talking about getting the book out, but getting kind of the back end that you were alluding to done and out as well, because maybe, video editing might not be your if you're a romance author, video editing might not be your forte, if you know what I mean.
Well, that's another curse of entrepreneurs, right? Is we're like, well, I can do that. No one's going to be able to do this better than me. And then you just don't get to the thing that you really love and you're extremely good at. And now I help clients with that part, but in my own life, I still am, the biggest offender of it. And that's, I'm good at, well, I can create that little social media art better than anybody. It's like, man, if you start tracking your time, get out there and do what you're best at. And that's why it's like, if you can kind of push everything off and just, be on video or be on audio or a podcast about your topic, that's what's really going to move the needle in your business. And, what happened to me is, and this is, this evolution the last year and a half is, I I saw everybody else that I looked up to or I was reaching out to, other influencers. I said, they all have their own summit. And I said, I guess if I want to be cool, one of the cool guys, I got to do a summit. So, but to me, I'm like, it's just another. I was thinking, well, the summit's going to be how the book was. It's going to be a authority builder, but there's no, the other stuff. It's just to kind of get my face out there. And it's like, well, okay, I'll do it. And yet, when I did it right, I made sure I got the right training and all that kind of stuff. But yet, when I did it right, it actually did the things that I thought the book would do originally, and that was bringing in income. And I'll tell you about that in a second. It connected me with influencers extremely easily, and it built my email list much faster than the book did, or a lot of the other running ads to a lead magnet. All this was high quality emails coming in for exactly what my topic was. And so I just that first summit, I left and was stunned, because I had made more money in basically a 2-week period than I had in 3 years across 15 books and royalties. I'd grown my email list by 50% in 2 weeks. And I had connected, you can see, as you're showing on the screen, I connected with 45 amazing people. Some people, like, I was just, there's no way they'll talk to me. And it's a different offer when you're calling somebody. If you want to reach out to an influencer who knows what they're doing or has a list of people that should see what you have to offer, it's a no-brainer for them to be on a summit, as long as it's, feels like it's a professional summit, not just thrown together. And you can see from the look and feel on the screen there, that's a nice when I send people that page, they're like, yeah, I'm in.
It's impressive. It's like, that's a nice, clean, well thought out, well presented summit. So if I'm Stu McLaren, I'm thinking, yeah, of course I want to be a part of this. And the idea that probably you get your first 2 or 3 people, and then you tell the other people, Stu's on, and then they'll be saying, oh, Stu's in, I'm in, and then it just kind of grows from there.
And it's a lot easier. So like I said, if I went to somebody and said, because for Stu, I would consider him like a celebrity speaker, right? So
yes, absolutely.
He's got his own stuff going there. I didn't ask him to promote this summit, but I wanted him on there because this is a huge thing. Memberships on the back of your book would be a huge topic for this summit. And but if I just said, hey, Stu, can you guys, and I reached out through his team, but can you guys promote my book? It's not, not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
Sometimes, even if they say somebody says they would, they may not do it. But this is something where this is, I've created this summit. You're actually looking at Book Profit School 2.0, which is going on this week. But I've created this. I'm going to be marketing this for however long, in perpetuity. And so I'm marketing him in perpetuity. So he knows that investing 20 minutes with me for an interview, that's well worth his while, and he doesn't have to do anything else. So it's a lot easier ask than like, hey, I got a book that I mentioned your name in. Would you like to promote it?
Can you write an email for me too? And then send it all out, right away. Because of course the person doesn't have a schedule for his emails.
Right.
Or her emails.
Right. I mean, most of these guys, that's the other thing, like most of these people, they've planned out their schedule for the year of what they're promoting. But they do have spots available to get on podcasts and get on summits and so forth. So, but like you said, then once I had Stu, and it took me a few tries through his team to get him on there because he's so busy. But I said, look, my summit's coming out 2 weeks before your tribe membership launch, can't hurt. And he was already doing that stuff. So, and the interview was perfect because we talked about how, taking the next step from your book. And by the way, this whole problem that we're talking about right now is that we thought books would do one thing and then they didn't produce the income we wanted. That was, I wanted to do a summit like all the cool kids, right? But what you need to do is niche down to something specific. And I said, well, there's a ton of self-publishing summits. There's a ton of bestseller summits. And I don't want, and I thought about doing it like how a book gives you authority summit. I'm like, no, what's sexy, and what I want to know anyway, personally, is how is everybody else making money on the back end of their book? And because people are making money, and
That's a great topic.
You think all these stars out there, they're like, oh, they've made it high enough that their book's making them the money. No, it's all their other stuff. I mean, of course they're making royalties, but it's all their other stuff. So, we were in that, like you're passing Marie there. It's like she's started as a client of mine. Now we're, partnering together because I saw what she was doing. I'm like, I didn't know it was even possible. Like that was a thing that was 2 years out for me. How can I get on a TEDx?
That's a great topic.
Talk?
Yeah. Like I want to know, let's get on.
And I
TEDx
was looking at her stuff, she had purchased one of my programs, and I was looking at her stuff. I'm like, I need to talk to you and I need to interview you. And now, we're adding that into my service offerings where I would outsource to her, like, hey, let's get you on a TEDx gig. She's actually helping me host a TEDx virtual gig. So and that's the whole point of it. Like I met somebody, and she came to me through my first summit. So it's not just getting people's email, you're building partnerships, and now, I just email her, she emails me back. Most of the people on this list, I mean, Stu's a little tougher to get a hold of, but most of the people now on this list of speakers, I can just email, and I can, if I'm going to do a product launch later, they've seen that they've made money from referring my summits and so forth. So it's such a win-win. And really, people get, the summit, you get, because you can attract better people to the summit, the attendees win too. So
that's cool.
Really exciting.
It is. And I'm thrilled that we're able to tell people about it, and it's happening right now. So before I forget, let me just put up the URL. If you want to go to the summit, bookprofitschool.com/Scott, and it'll take you to the page. How much does it cost to join the summit right now? While it's live.
It's live. It's free. So that,
free. What? How can that be?
So it sounds like an infomercial. Free. I had a stack of bills this high.
There's more.
That's right. So every video is free for 48 hours, and then if you want, you can purchase the premium pass, and that actually, I don't want to, there's some bonuses in there. Book Funnels 101's in there. There's an expert kit, how to build your expert kit in there. There's another 24 interviews from Eric Vanderhoof's Self-Publishing Summit that are all included. I'm actually letting people watch all the videos. So it's lifetime if you get the premium pass, but I've got an app, and I'm giving people 90-day access in the app. That helps them consume it better. That's more or less in beta. I'm going to see if I can even show this on the screen here. Let's see my app, but we've put, I don't know if we can see that, but there's my app. You can see Book Profit Schools at the top. I get that in focus, right? And so you can actually go in there and see all the sessions and just walk around the house and hear them on your phone. So
neat.
I may actually do the next version, whenever that is, or a different summit. I've got a couple lined up, just from the app, just because the whole goal is for people to consume the information. And how do we make that better? And 70% of digital content now is consumed on your phone. So we're doing that too. But the founder of this app, that's container app that you can build your own apps in, Troy Broussard, he's on Book Profit School talking about how to put your content in an app. He has a book that sells less than a copy a day that he still makes $300,000 from a year because of his back end products. So we talk about that too. So it's all really cool stuff. And
Ray, is there any sort of topics that you couldn't do a summit on? So basically, all right, so this is great. You've got your your niche, you're in that. But if someone's like a science fiction author or a romance author, they're into that side of it, or they do books on emotional intelligence in the business realm, or they do travel. Have you found any areas, because those all sound to me like you could do a summit, those people could lead a summit on that topic. Is there any areas where you think it wouldn't work?
Well, I would look at it this, I think we could figure something out for anything. And even like fiction authors, the idea of the summit is, okay, if I'm running a summit this week, the first thing I want to know is what am I running the next week after the summit? That's what I want to know. Like, what's your flagship, or what's your product, or what are you a coach? What do you really want clients for? And that's the audience that we want that for that next week. That's the audience we want to attend the summit. And then we back into that and say, okay, well, you know what? Scott has the audience that I want to talk to about doing summits to help you with your books and your business. And so I'm going to have Scott on the summit. And so you actually are targeting speakers who have the audience that you're looking for. So in a case of fiction,
that's a brilliant strategy. I mean, I never really have thought of it the way you're thinking of it. It's like, who's my ideal client? Now, who's talking to my ideal client? We're going to get those on my summit. And now, are you doing live interviews or recorded interviews?
No, we record them, but then we make them available live for 48 hours.
Right. So that's brilliant. Like, so you're interviewing me, for example. I've got a following that is exactly your ideal client, and of course they're going to be hearing that I'm speaking, and they're going to want to listen to me, even if all I did is put it on Facebook or something like that. And now all of a sudden it's like, well, who's this Ray guy? And I'm curious because he did a really good job, blah, blah, blah. So, and now all of a sudden you've got access to a whole bunch of people you never had before.
And by the way, so you bring up a couple good points. By the way, you don't have to be the expert. So for instance, I'm not the number one guy in memberships or coaching or masterminds or all these topics that I got. I'm just the curator. I'm just the interviewer, right? So, I'm just the Oprah here talking to everybody else who's the experts. But what happens then is people watch all week. There's 45 interviews. Well, I'm in every one of those interviews talking to the other person, asking questions. And, a lot of, and what, the great thing about having a topic that I'm interested in is I ask a lot of questions, and I ask on behalf of like newbies too. So it's like, okay, there's people that have their book done already, but what if they're just starting and they're very unsure about this path? What do they do? And so we get people asking a question, but the association with 45 experts creates this aura of authority. And of course, the other thing is you're getting free coaching from these experts for 30 minutes, right? So, it's like, holy cow.
I was thinking about that too. Like, you've got time with them to ask them any question you want to have answered, and that's going to help you tremendously regardless of what else happens.
And back to the week after thing. So what are we trying to really do? What kind of clients we really do? Just to give you an example, my very first summit, I didn't even know like what I'm telling you now, like it's all about the week after. But I had run I do this thing where people join a book of mine and write a chapter, and we make it a bestseller and do that. So we ran it 45 days before my summit, did pretty well. I decided right after my summit, I said, I kind of got this feeling that my authority is at an all-time high. Let's run that same promotion, put more people on this book. And we did 6 times the revenue. I didn't change an email. The summit was done. I said, you know what? I'm just going to rerun this to my list and also newly acquired email list. I reran it and did 6 times
hot prospects. Now they're hot prospects, right?
And they had just watched me interview all these people. I'm like, well, maybe I should be on a book with him because he had, Stu McLaren and Matt McWilliams. And so it's really a great tool. And so, so to culminate it all, then two of the other speakers said, Ray, I love how you ran the summit. I want to sell done for you summits. Can you partner with me? And so now I've pivoted to becoming a done for you summit guy. So, we build templates like this for people so I'm somewhat the tech guy in the background on these summits, but because, this can be feel like an overwhelming task, we can build it out. So, two of the people that were speakers I'm now partnered with on, and more are coming. But we are now, and in fact, I'm a book launch guy, and I'm like telling people that are getting phone calls with me to talk about doing their book launch. I'm like, if you can, I think you need to do a summit first, because then the summit can build this email list for your book launch.
That's right. Anyway. It's part of that whole process. And there's a couple things you said that I want to really highlight to make sure everybody pays attention. And before I do, we have a new comment. So, hi, Abdoli. And that was, you didn't know these things the first summit that you did, and about what to do the week after. And I never really thought about that either. And I'm thinking, man, I missed the boat here a few times. But if you don't do it, then you don't know what you don't know. So by doing it, then you realize, like, oh, why didn't I do this? Or why didn't I do that? And if you're a one and done, it's a waste of time. Like, you're not talking about, I'm doing this summit today, Scott, and once this is done, that's it. I'm going to go and become a ditch digger or something for the rest of my life because I've done the summit. I'm finished. And that's a lot of what happens with me is I create courses, and I put the courses up on Udemy, and I tell all of my co-instructors, I'm the same as you. I don't know anything about emotional intelligence, but I have this great emotional intelligence professor from a university that does all of the courses on it. I don't know anything about stock options, but I got this great guy who writes this program, blah, blah, blah. And so unless it's about podcasting, which I do teach on, I'm making hundreds of courses, like 140 right now, on a whole variety of topics that I could pretend I know, but I don't really know, but I'm making them with experts who really know what they're talking about. And when you're planting these seeds, you never know what's going to happen, right? Like we've planted a seed, and now you're on my show and I'm talking about this summit, and you planted a few seeds on summits that I think that I should be involved in, and we'll talk about when we get off the air. But I had an amazing thing happen to me today. My emotional intelligence instructor said that there are 615 million people between the age of 15 and 25 in India, and the Ministry of Education just called us because we need to they want to do some emotional intelligence instructions for these people so that they can be happier and we don't have riots and they're able to live fulfilling lives. And I'm like, whoa, our little courses just turned into a mass. And they found us on Udemy and they said, wow, look, these people know about emotional intelligence. We're going to talk to them because we don't, and we know this is what we need. So you never know where your seeds are going to sprout and what fruit they're going to bring. But if you're not planting them all over the place, we know what'll happen then, right?
That's exactly right. Because you could spend another hour on just the path in the last year that's gotten me here. And it's just been like, just having the courage to reach out to one more person. And then that person introduced me to so-and-so. And then he and I started talking summits, and he was doing his. So I'm like, I'm going to do mine. And we both did it. In fact, it's Paul Brody. It's a friend of mine I'm talking about. He was running a summit, and he got me on his podcast through an introduction to somebody else. And then, we started collaborating, and then he actually hired me to rerun his summit because he liked how mine looked. And we 5 times his same summit 90 days later, with just adding some extra interviews for, surviving COVID. And now he's out there selling our services to other collaborators as, summit builders and done for you summits. So you just never know. And then you and I make the connection. It's just like, saying yes. And that's why, like, what I'm saying too is like because I think the biggest barrier to the idea of summits for people would be like, well, who am I going to get to go on the summit? Well, as I mentioned earlier, it's the people you want to be on your summit, to them, it's a no-brainer. As long as you prepare it, get a nice one-pager which explains what the summit is. If you've got the landing page ready, it looks professional. That's a no-brainer. Yeah, I'll give you 20 or 30 minutes of my time, and if it looks good or it's going good, I'll promote it. And but and then it starts adding up. I mean, you got 30 people and maybe 15 or promote it, and they're not doing it every day, but one's doing it one day. I mean, the numbers, and here's the other thing, and you probably know this, probably looking at Dan's stuff on the BC Stack, but I remember looking at the first stack that I was going to participate in, and I thought, well, it's $47. How much can they be making? You probably experienced this in Udemy. And then you realize, like, even with the summit, because like my premium pass, if you buy it in the first 15 minutes when you opt in, it's $67. And it's like, it doesn't sound like much. I mean, you'd have to, you sell 150 of them, that's 10 grand. So and that can happen a lot easier than you think, because, and it's, if I'm promoting and like, hey, my summit, but if you, Scott, say, Ray's got this summit and it's awesome, and then people go there, it's like you recommending a movie versus some stranger. Right. So,
and I'm there. I'm recommending it, and I'm there. So
and you want to see my talk, so you got to get there.
Exactly.
And then it becomes a matter of like, for me now, it's a matter, like, I'm not, and like you said, you do it once, and then you're not afraid to ask people.
Right.
And for me, it's not even like the asking people anymore. It's like, okay, do I have enough time to interview this person this week? Or let's just, and so now I'm just kind of like, for instance, I've got an interview in an hour and 15 minutes from now, and I'm not even sure what summit it's going on yet, but I know I want to talk to him because he's awesome. So,
well, the other thing too is you've got 45 people and they know a lot of other people that they have connections to a lot of people you may not have connections to that would be ideal on the summit. And when they get together and they talk, because everyone's in masterminds, oh man, I was on Ray's summit and this happened and that happened. And they're all like, what's his email address? Do you have his phone number? And you're going to start getting people wanting to be on because they've heard such great things about what happened before. One thing I want to ask you about, and before I forget.
I know we're going long here. I could talk sometimes.
Is you talked about this being evergreen. So tell me if this is your plan to do regular summits and each of them evergreen, so that you're creating this massive domination of your particular niche.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about that part of it, and that's why I love it. I'm a book guy, but I love this.
I'm going to invite you back, okay, so that we don't have to worry about covering everything all at once.
But I'll just say this. This is, you mentioned evergreen. This is another bonus of this that's not, and that's why I'm like done for you. I can pitch people and say, we're going to do it for you, and it's expensive, but you're getting a asset that can produce income for, in perpetuity, because we can turn it evergreen. So it's not like we're going to hold an event at the fairgrounds and talk about your book. No, I mean, this is you getting these interviews. You can turn it into a book, by the way. Do I have a prop here? I've got a prop here. I mean, I got a stack of stuff on top of my book, but this is coming out, and it's probably not out till next year, but this is based on, and you can see it's right. This is how thick it is right now. This is based on my summit. So you can create a book from your summit, but you can create a evergreen where people, they come to you and you can play the summit for them. They land today, they get 5 days to watch on the summit, and they can buy the premium pass, so forth, and automate it. So it's not like a one-time, of course, a book launch, and somebody can pay, a couple dollars on Kindle for your book forever, but it's a much higher return, and it's very effective because you got videos and teaching and all those people. So it's
right. So you
built an asset, digital asset.
Right. You're taking the transcriptions, you turn it into a book, you got it on Amazon. Somebody's going to, next year somebody buys it. So, this is really good information. And of course, in the book, here's a link to our website if you want to see when our next summit is, and you can join and be like, Oh yeah, great. And then they go, they sign up, they either get on the list so they get notified, or it's happening really soon and they register for free and they're in. So that's another seed that you've planted. And if so, is your goal to do 4 summits a year?
Yeah,
Yourself?
yes, at the very least at this point. And
So let me
yeah.
let me ask it differently. As someone who is the expert in creating summits for people, would you recommend that if someone's going to be doing a summit, that they have a plan of growing to, so maybe not this year or next year, but the long-term plan would be to do 4 summits as opposed to 12 summits, like one, like, I'm not sure one a week is a good idea.
Yeah, right.
Right.
I mean, if you turn it evergreen, that's fine. And somebody comes. So, for instance, if someone comes to my site, they can see Book Profit School. They click on it, it'll go to the evergreen. And when we're done here, once it's all set up, I wouldn't do one every quarter with the same brand. So, for instance, Book Profit School, I've created a franchise, if you will, right? I've run 2 in the last little over 100 days, I'd say. That I wouldn't do normally, but I had increased the speaker count by 50%, and I was testing running it in an app, and I want to turn it evergreen, and I've got other people that I'm building summits for. So it was like, okay, let's get this one done, version 2, and then we're going to turn it evergreen. But I might run that once or twice a year, that brand. But I've got some other brands. In fact, as we're talking, I've got another brand that I'm going to build that you'd be perfect for. So, we're on that. But to me, my next, like by next year, I'd like to have 4 brands running, each one a quarter.
Okay.
And then they go evergreen. And then I'm kind of and this sounds like a lot of work, but it's not. It's based on what we talked in the beginning, is then I'm kind of in this mode where I'm just, everyone I meet is a potential
client.
speaker for
Yeah.
at least one of my brands.
Yeah.
And so that's, that sounds overwhelming, but that's the easy part. And that's why it's like, it's worth, it's not always worth getting. That's why I'm pivoting, because I can help people launch their book. I help them get bestseller, but there's not money in it. But if with a summit, they can spend a lot of money with me building their summit, and they can probably get most, if not all of it, back on the first run of the summit. And then they've got this digital asset to keep doing. And by the way, you're the Udemy machine creating all those courses. You're not creating the content for this asset you've built. You just curated it.
Right.
So it's amazing that you're basically crowdsourcing the content for this super asset.
I never thought of it that way, but yeah. And that's awesome. Well, I know thank you very much. You've been very generous with your time, Ray. And I know that I have way more questions. I was almost going to start asking another one, and I realized, well, we're going to be going for hours, and you're in the middle of your book summit, right? Book Profit School is going on, and you're taking time out to talk with us. And I really, really appreciate that. I want to have you on again. And then I also want I want to have you on again for sure, because let's talk a little bit more about how this can apply to our authors, because I totally agree. Our purpose here at freeebooks.net is to support the author community, get them in front of lots of people that want to read their books. And if we can help them do summits to do that, then that would be absolutely amazing. So thank you for coming on. Do you have any last tips for people about...
I'll just say, if you've struggled, if you've seen your royalties or seen your sales after you've published or, hit bestseller or whatever you've done, and felt depressed and said, oh my gosh, this isn't going to work. It can work. We just got to reposition your mind to think the book's here. There's other tools, and none more amazing than a summit in my mind, that can help you build the business of your dreams around the topic of your book. And so just hang in there. We've all been there. I've hit that little depression skid, like, oh my gosh, I thought the book was going to do it, and it's not going to do it. All right, what do I do now? I'm going to have to go, work at the, digging ditches or whatever. Yeah. So, but then it's like, wow, okay, there is a whole nother world out there, and you just have to expand your mind a little bit about, and just enjoy doing what you do and meeting people and interviewing them.
Awesome. Great. Well, I really appreciate you coming on, Ray, and sharing all of your knowledge. And head over, if you're watching this live or in a few days, within a few days of us going live, head over to bookprofitschool.com/Scott and join us. And it's evergreen. So if you're watching this a year from now, head over there and either you'll see the one that we're talking about, or he'll have one coming up that you can join live, which would be really exciting.
Well, I'm glad to see we stayed under 20 minutes.
All right. Thanks for joining us, everybody. And head over to free-ebooks.net and start downloading books, start reading, supporting our authors. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.